Let's see if it connects. All right, I think I'm back. So all right, so now let's test out this editor. It's working pretty well. Let's maybe too much. Let's go. Let's go copy. It's weird. All right, so I probably need to clean that up a little bit. Yes, I need to copy that. I need to clean that up. Because bring it in its own kind of stylings already. This should be highlighted. Let's remove that. The setting buttons are definitely incorrect. All right. That works. That worked. Now let's do this. All right. So I'm close, but not quite there. So I need to clean up some of this. Go to my buttons. Way too small. All right, way too small. And then I think I need to add some styling for my numbered list. Right, it's gotta be LL. Decimal. Come here, check. All right, this is a number list. Cool. Um, I want to add a underline to this also. Let's go. All right, let's give it a couple things it needs to fix. Highlighting text with certain styles. The buttons should, the corresponding button should be highlighted. Should be visually active. So add an underline button when highlighting text with certain styles. Corresponding button should be visually active. And wire up certain keyboard commands to fire those buttons. For bold, and when pasting from a clipboard, existing styles should be stripped. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do all those things. Need to also include an underline button, and then when highlighting certain text that has already those styles applied, like bold, the corresponding button should also be kind of set as active, so you can highlight things so you know it's being kind of applied to that block of text. And then I wanted to also wire up keyboard commands like Control B for bold, Control I for italics, so on and so forth. And then when pasting from clipboard, I want all those existing styles to be stripped out before they're placed in it. So just do that. All right, so I'd import underline, list, underline. All right, then here's the actives, basically using a state to determine what's active. Selection is inside editor, so you know that you're selecting text. That element, no, it's element, well, element in editor that contains element tag. All right, then here's the active. Basically all this is to actually get the active formats. All these are kind of deprecated, so I'm probably gonna have to just do this vanilla.js, but I'll just leave it for now. Then this is handling the keyboard shortcuts. Underline. All right, and this is stripping pasted text of existing styles. If there's no text, document.
What this is saying then is that just as you don't know how you manage to be conscious, how you manage to
All
grow
right, so
this body of yours,
pass this down is allow text. Okay.
not doing it,
So now when I come back here,
you
it
don't
should apply those.
how the universe
For example,
shines the stars,
have this. Now if I paste,
and galactifies the
I
galaxy.
need that copy.
But that doesn't mean to say that you
Oh, I know why.
doing it in just the same way as you're breathing without knowing how you breathe.
Now if I paste, I don't get extra styles, which is appropriate. Now if I come here, go Control I. Now it's active when I have it highlighted. Let's remove that italics, underline, B. Make this active. Great. Okay, so I need to toggle for my heading buttons. Can't deselect. Okay, I need the buttons to toggle between all right, but pretty much everything else works. Pasting, remove styles, underline, bold, italic, that all works. Let's see, this is a test. Cool, now it deselects. Bold. Let's make you a H3. Let's bold you. Let's go bold. This is underlined. That works. And this is a list. Cool. Move those. Is numbered list. All right, cool. So that works. All right, so all that works properly. So I have a baseline text editor that functions as I expect, which is good because I'll also be using this later on. And when I highlight text, I think it's highlighted appropriately. Cool. So text editor is functioning. One thing I do need to clean up is all these kind of deprecated parts. So what I'm probably going to have to do is not rely on, what is it? It's, where is it? Yeah, so all these parts that are deprecated, every time I'm going to have to create a fully vanilla JS for this. All right, so Samzy, what up, man? So you wonder if it should support keyboard functions. I find myself using them a lot. Yeah, actually, that's what I just wired up. So actually, if I come here, Control U, for example, underline, Control I, italic, Control B, bold. So yeah, I actually have that already wired up. I was ahead of you on that. Yeah, the functions pretty well as I would like. What doesn't work is this short code. The shortcut for my actual list. I don't know why it's not actually firing. Oh, huge nice just tuned in, so missed that. Yeah, I got that in there because I find myself doing the same thing as much as I can. Just keep it all keyboard based. I try to. Shift key 7. Let's see if that works. Oh no, that's not working. Should be Control Shift 7. Yeah, these aren't working. All right, so these two commands aren't working. Let's see if that works. All right, initial code equals digit 7. All right, so switch to a digit. Let's see if that works. It does. All right, cool. So all that's fired up appropriately. And while that works for this browser, I don't know if that's going to work for every single browser because of all these kind of deprecated commands. Did a little research into it, and basically everybody's suggesting that if somebody wants to use these, is basically just go full JS, vanilla JS on this, and just use listeners to insert and update with HTML and CSS. I'm probably going to go that route just in case, because I can't check every browser out there to make sure that functions properly, even though I think for the most part I'm pretty good. You said you checked out my stream a couple times, inspired you to start working a lot more on my own SaaS. I've been putting off for a while, so thanks for that. Hey man, I appreciate that, man. Appreciate you. If I can inspire anybody out there, just keep coding, building. That's a win. What SaaS you building? Like, how's it coming? You just starting out? Like, what's good with that? I don't know if you can see from the top little corner. Mine just went live last week. I'm actually using it right now. Like I said, mentioned earlier. I'm using my own SaaS right now a few times for a few clients that I'm doing some like website stuff for and marketing stuff for. Yeah, if you guys want to check that out, if you want to check out the live SaaS, the greenlight.co, the one that I've been working on for like 6 weeks, go ahead and check that out. I definitely wanted to get some feedback and see what you guys think about it. Liking it so far. I'm using it for myself, and just continuing down that road. I'm gonna have to set up all the marketing and things for that and kind of continue the rollout. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that I can inspire you to get out there and start building your own. So let me know how's that going. All right, let's try this again. Why isn't this? All right, so what I need to figure out is all these deprecated All right, so what I think I'm gonna do is just not rely on this and just strictly rely on JS. So what's deprecated? Commands marked as deprecated. State. This is deprecated. I think those are the ones. With no alternatives available. The banner to handle all of this handle. This editor. You said you check it out, man. Check it out. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Definitely need more people to kick the tires and test it out. I got a few people on there right now testing it out and doing some projects and client work, but I definitely want to see more people out there get some opinions about it. So you're trying to build a lighter weight version of Jira for small to medium sized software companies with dev first workflow, get closely integrated. Okay. Isn't Jira is that basically like the internal kind of project management app, especially for like dev teams to like kind of visually see everything that needs to be done? Is that kind of what it is? If that's what I'm thinking. Kuba, that's a good idea. Jira and GitHub have been getting a lot of criticism lately. I mean, yeah. Honestly, I know a lot of people feel certain ways about like AI and like all this kind of things that's changing, whatever, and like all these companies are firing people. Honestly, I think it's making a lot of these platforms and products and all these like major companies shittier than ever, because they are using vibe coding. They are just putting out tons of code and not really testing shit, and just because you can put out new features doesn't necessarily mean it's making your product better. So if anything, I think it's actually opening a lane for smaller, more agile kind of people and companies to kind of fill those gaps and holes, because I looked at the same thing with my SaaS, see what was out there, obviously like Asana, Trello, a few other things. And while they offer so many features, the core features that I would need, or most people are actually pretty shitty, and doesn't really like justify the amount of money that you'd end up spending on using it for. So I think one kind of giant positive about this is that you can kind of wire up your own applications pretty quickly now and fill those gaps, because like you said, a lot of these like giant platforms and products are pretty shitty these days and people aren't pretty happy with them. I know I wasn't. That's kind of why I went out there and did my own, literally because I needed a better alternative. So I was like, why not just build my own? Yes, de facto, but to be honest, I think it's massively overcomplicated for most small to medium sized businesses. So trying my own spin on exactly. I did the same thing. Like trying to learn all those other platforms, and then you have all these CRMs that try to do every single thing under the sun, whether it's like Zoho or Google or whatever. Just so much shit that I don't need. Like, why would I pay for that? I don't need it. And then you're also making it so much more complicated because you're throwing so much shit at somebody when I just need maybe 2 or 3 things, and I need to do those 2 or 3 things extremely well. I just feel like when they're that big, they just can't do it. And they don't really care. They're just trying to throw as many features out there as possible so that they can kind of sell you on just the one size fits all application, but I don't think that's the case for most people. So yeah, I mean, I went through the same thing. Definitely overcomplicated a lot of these applications. For sure, 100%. Yeah, man. Like it's kind of crazy. Like when I did the math, and I was like, all right, I could use these platforms to get what I need, which is project management, client management, and I might need 2 or 3 different ones to do what I actually really needed to do. And then the cost of it just didn't make sense. And then just the learning curve of trying to figure out what to do was just didn't make sense either. Like why they try to overcomplicate everything and kind of bring you into one kind of place for everything is kind of stupid to me. So if you need any help, man, if you wanna ask, I don't know how good you are with like authentications and roles and permissions. I know something like that, which is honestly kind of similar to what I just did. It can get pretty complicated. So if you ever need any help, or you need just bounce some thoughts off, man, reach out to me, because there was plenty of nights where I was trying to figure out like, all right, how do I handle this roles and like this authentication and who has permission to what, and like all these like little edge cases that you might not think about. Like there's a lot that goes into that side of things, especially for application, that I didn't really think I was gonna have to think about until I started doing it. And I was like, oh shit, a few times. So if you ever need help, man, I'm always here. Especially invitations. And you say you about to start it, or you started it. So like what's your tech stack? What are you going to be doing? All right, so I just, I asked it if the best kind of route would just to be roll a vanilla JS HTML CSS solution for this, and it's saying no. It's offering tip tap. What is tip tap? Let me see what this is. Basically, it's saying I can just use a pre-existing editor, which is fine. I mean, I'm just not trying to pay for any of that, especially since everything's subscriptions. I've actually done this before. I forget which editor I used in particular. Let me see if I can find that, because it actually wasn't that expensive. They did a lot of things. All right, so I'm just gonna leave this right now because it works, and for most browsers it's going to work. I mean, there might be some edge cases, but for the most part it does what I need to do. So I think my newsletters is basically wired up, but Postmark did just tell me that they literally flipped the switch and allowed me to access their API endpoint now. So let's go ahead and test that out. Let's go smarkapp.com/ You said you deep into it at the moment using Laravel, Inertia, BlueStack. Current plan is to get it integrated with GitHub as a V1. Got Stripe set up for subscriptions, GitHub set up for OAuth. Okay. GitHub for OAuth. That's okay. So basically, all right. I mean, that makes sense because yours basically be developer facing. So you're just gonna basically use it as a single sign-on that you need to have a GitHub account to create an account, basically, and it just links those two automatically. think that's pretty smart actually. Instead of having to worry about, all the extras. I personally use BetterAuth for mine because I know eventually I'll like add two-factor authentication and all the passkeys and all that, and it already has that kind of baked into it. You got Stripe set up for the subscriptions. Okay. I almost use Stripe. Only thing about Stripe was that if my application was to get kind of big, I would have to worry about all the taxes and nexus of sales and all these different things that comes with running a business that I don't really want to have to think about for something like that. So I ended up going with Lemon Squeezy simply for the fact that you are technically not the one selling anything. They are the merchant, so they have to handle all the taxes, and they already set up all over the world and around the country so that you don't have to worry about nexuses, and it properly sets up and collects all the taxes and files and filing and forms that you need. Not really an issue obviously when you're first starting out, but if you ever did get pretty big, can get pretty sticky with taxes. So I just went ahead and went Lemon Squeezy. It's got a little bit higher commission, but Stripe is always, solid. Laravel Socialite makes it pretty easy though. I'm using GitHub webhooks to get things like branch and pull request data for tickets. Okay. I mean, that makes sense. Like I said, like since yours definitely developer focused, obviously most people are going to be GitHub at some, degree, even reluctantly. So definitely have, access to the webhooks, especially if you're already using it for authentication. You should automatically be able to like bring in those different integrations like webhooks for branching and pull requests and stuff like that. So that's definitely the way to go, I think, for yours. Lemon Squeezy, I'll write that down, keep it on my mind. Definitely, because I know, like I said, if you'd want this to be a, something that can bring in some monthly revenue, tax, I don't know where you are, I don't know if you're in the US, but it can get real tricky with taxes and where you do most of your sales. And because if you do a lot of sales in certain cities and states, then you have to basically create another LLC in that state or in that state to collect those taxes and file those taxes there. And being an online kind of platform, you don't necessarily know where that might happen. So it can get pretty messy pretty quickly. That's why a lot of people actually hire some tax accountants and consultants to handle that. But Lemon Squeezy basically takes that completely off your hands. There's a little bit higher cut. I forget exactly what it is, but you don't have to spend that money on figuring out your taxes in time. So I'm in the UK, but when you try it works. I'm like, okay, yeah. Also another thing about them, I'm not paid promo. It's just something that's built a few things and I had to figure out monetizations, and I've used Stripe actually before, but is that they're really good for international sales. So they have already established themselves internationally. I think they're actually owned by, I forget who they're owned by. They're owned by like a big ass company, maybe PayPal. No, I forget. I'll look it up. But I know that they handle all of the international sales tax as well. So you don't need to worry about any of that either. So like that's the one point of like bonus for me that I went to. Well, the main reason why I went with them is literally because they handle taxes for you. Like there's a little bit of higher fee, but they handle all of your taxes for you, that you don't need to worry about what sales tax and what area and all that stuff. So I would definitely look into them. If you plan on making this like an international app that anybody can use just to avoid any headaches in the future, I think it might be worth the extra cut that they take. It's not huge, but it's worth not having to worry about that. Kuba 2 sounds like a nightmare. I've never even considered that side of starting a SaaS. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't, honestly. I started in business, so my business management degree and business degree, and I've kind of set up my own side businesses already before and had LLCs and all that. So I already understand a little bit about it, but it truly is the hardest part about running a SaaS, honestly, or building an application for production or building a website for production. Isn't even the actual building of it. That's the fun part. The nightmare shit comes when you start actually running a business and like keeping it up to date and like following what you need, finding what you need, and do also like that side of things. Yeah, it's It's definitely a pain in the ass. I've been kind of lucky. I have a dad who does taxes, for a long time. So he kind of schooled me on a lot of that shit and how to establish businesses and how to, find little wiggle room and stuff. But that is definitely the worst part of running anything like that to me is the business side of taxes and government side of things for sure. Because like I said, I don't know how it works in other countries, but I know in the US, if I'm in one state, but I'm still doing business in another state and I do a significant amount of business in that state, which can happen with subscriptions, obviously, then I need to set up a whole nother filing over there and pay all those taxes there and make sure I'm getting the right sales tax. And sales tax literally breaks down per county, per city, and like different percentages and rates. And it's just a fucking nightmare. So tip tap, let me keep that in mind. All right, so like I said, check this. Last thing I need to check is make sure it actually gets sent through Postmark now that they gave me permission for handling these API requests. Bulk send status. All right, so we're already queued. They failed, but I restarted my worker and it looks like it happened. So found 27 subscribers for weekly notification. Why does it say weekly? Processing job, weekly notifications. All right, so I need to clean that up. All right, cool. So then I come here to refresh. What does it say? Oh, it's weekly notifications. Okay. All right, so that's my notifications. Now, if I come here, and let's get this full test. All right, so let's go. Oh, that's what I need. One last thing. Even when selecting a newsletter template, define the all right, so body text, let me see. Let's double check that. I need to make sure that plain text gets sent along with my HTML text. I'm not really sure if it does right now. Can you just all right, let me make sure. All right, cool. That works. I'm just not going to hide my plain text so I can define my own plain text. And then call this placeholder. All right, so now I want to come here. That should stay there. Cool. Plain text version, I can still have that with my new template. And let's do one more thing. Check that, and then I think there might be some issues with calling this a template alias because Postmark also has aliases for their templates. So I'm just making sure that's not the case. Very cool. Let's go ahead and give this a test. All right, and then copy you. Making sure that these appear appropriately. That's weird. Is there a max height on that? Control F, max. All right, that should fix it. Go. Plain text. Let's grab this header. All right, so it's got the URL fully sent out, and then it should send out to this preview. 22 people. All right, let's try it. Cool. So now I'm getting the sending status. Is exactly what I was looking for. Let's check these logs. So I actually tried and queued. Send batch. Submit failed. But why though? I'll get an error message. It's not running my Docker, so it's my logs. All right, let me check this. I hear this. I see the bug. Postmark accepted the batch, but your code is likely checking for ID. Okay. While the response is ID, which makes it look like failure. I'll patch the part should accept both and rerun type check. Error was a false negative. Postmark returned accepted response with ID, but your code only accepted ID. All right, so as you can see, they reran it and newsletter campaign finalized. Sent is 0 though. Failed 22, that's weird. String. GXMV over YouTube, what's up, man? You're a student completely new to this, just wondering, has building and investing into a SaaS actually made money for y'all? I mean, I just launched mine literally, like not even a week ago. So I got a couple people paying on there, but obviously building a business and building something takes a little bit longer than that. What I'll say is investing. The investment is very low these days. Like with AI and with the ability to kind of build these things pretty much on your own. I built that full application by myself. I didn't need to hire anybody else or bring anybody in. Like it didn't take me months and months and months. It took me, about 2 months in total, probably from front to back to get it up. So the investment, I would say, is extremely low. So like, I don't think that's a barrier anymore in terms of building applications. The main kind of investment is going to come from like building out the marketing side of things and getting it to market and getting it to the public. You're going to have to probably spend some money there in terms of getting it out to people and stuff like that. But the actual hosting and infrastructure of it is relatively cheap, in terms of depending on what kind of path you go. I use Supabase and I use, my own VPS, and all in all, it's pretty cheap, compared to the actual investment of getting something up. So honestly, investment is pretty low. There's huge upside, obviously, in terms of building an audience and getting an actual client base. The hardest part is actually building that, and that is where most of your investment and time is going to come into it. So building is no longer the obstacle for a business, especially a software business. The main obstacle now is, which everybody's obstacle is getting people's attention and getting it to market and building a client base, getting people to actually pay for something. So that has been kind of my experience so far. All right, so it says syntax error. Stu doesn't know he's talking about. Do not see this channel. You're right. So then why are you on this channel? So it failed. It says it failed 22 of those. That's weird. If I come to my stream, sent 22 emails in the last 30 days. 20. So it actually sent. So it actually sent all 22 emails as I expected. All right, everything I filled in appropriately. Heading, the actual text. HTML should be. Some of the spacing is a little bit weird, but let's clean that up. View on collective, button works. All right, so the template actually got used, which is cool. Image got probably kind of filled in. Some of this needs to be cleaned up in terms of padding and margins. I ain't mad at it though. So now I got a bulk emailer basically to handle, you know, promotional marketing, just other emails that I might need to send out to my entire app. So I can just do that now from my actual application, which is pretty dope. I don't need to go on Postmark and create templates to send things and use webhooks. I can just come here and actually, you know, write something right now, fill out what needs to be filled in. I have a full kind of custom editor here, and I can hit all of the people I need. I need to figure out why it's saying failed when it actually sent. That's probably a bug somewhere, but for the most part, it's pretty much there. Easy XMV, awesome answer. Thank you so much, man. No problem. I say go for it, man. Like there's really like no obstacles to building these days. What used to take, you know, 10 months to a year to build, you can do in 1 to 2 months, and you don't need a full massive team to kind of handle it. If you hit roadblocks, there's always, you know, ways around it, and just take a shot, man. Take a shot. And definitely learn marketing. If you can learn marketing, you can build something, and you can actually find an audience for it. That is honestly the key. Obviously needs to be, you know, an actual need for people and whatnot, but yeah, I would suggest I say why not just go for it. All right, so it creates its own unsubscribe button. No, if I come here, all right, enter my subscription page. And that's for, all right, let's see. Let's go. Cool. So it actually got flipped and I got removed from that list. All right, so unsubscribe button works. Now, what is this button? Since I'm already handling the unsubscribe on my end, I wonder if I can remove this. Otherwise, I'd have to set up a webhook to kind of register that somebody has unsubscribed, and I don't want to have to do all that. Last thing I want to do is clean up some of that. All right, for whatever reason, this margin is not margin top 0. Why does it say that? And that it's weird. That's some weird placement of brakes for whatever reason. Weird. Like, why is this brake way up here? Let's see, front. All right, so this is what I'm gonna do. Let's come here. All right, so I just figured out what's going on. Why I get this weird styling for whatever reason. Not wrapping the actual text in paragraph tags. And whenever I press enter to add it to my rich text editor, it's adding a break tag instead of just letting the paragraphs handle it. And those break tags are kind of visualizing pretty weird. So I'm telling it to just fall back to the normal p tags. Any text tag gets added that's not being transformed to in heading or anything should automatically be wrapped in paragraphs. Normalize away brace. Okay. Enter handling, so now I must enter. Okay, cool. All right. All right, and the last thing I need to figure out is why am I getting a failed response when I'm actually getting those emails? Because they all say delivered, processed, delivered, delivered, delivered. Cool. So it's obviously working. But I'm getting a failed response, so I need to figure that out. Let's figure this out. All right, so the poller only treats one terminal success string completed, so any alternate success status can incorrectly mark the whole batch failed. All right, so complete, finish, success. I don't know why it's not showing what what the actual response is. Let's see. Status completed. Yeah, okay. Literally might just be a typo. I think it needs to be capitalized. Right. From all right, so I think literally why I got that kind of failed response is because I'm looking for completed lowercase, but then if I look, completed lowercase was what I was looking for. But then if I look here, it says all the possible statuses are these that are capitalized. But it's saying that it's not normalized before comparison, which all right, we about to have beef. me and Cody's about to have some beef. Okay. I think he did a little bit of overkill, but let's just test this anyways and see if that fixed the issue. All right, cool. So plain text actually worked. Um, and all right, there's definitely a bug here. Don't need to worry about that right now. Just when it was working fine. Now I'm having a weird ass issue. Always something. All right. All right. So I was kind of not wanting to have to set up my own Postmark webhook, but apparently I'm gonna have to. Because in addition to my own little unsubscribe route that I created, which I thought was pretty clever, they still send their own unsubscription link, and if I don't have a webhook wired up to listen to that event, there's no way I can mark that person as unsubscribed. So looks like I'm gonna have to create my own webhook anyways. Was not trying not to do all that, but I think I'm gonna have to do that. which if that's the way I'm going to do, I'm probably going to end up ripping out my own custom unsubscribe route and functionality, and just rely on theirs. Because I need to keep them in sync. That doubles the obviously code and also doubles the room for errors. So I'll probably end up ripping out my own custom subscription and just relying strictly on Postmark's unsubscribe functionality, which I'll need to wire up with the webhook and create an API endpoint that listens for that. Which, luckily enough, I already have workers and things like that that does cron jobs and stuff like that. So it will be able to kind of do scans and mark people unsubscribed as needed, which will also be added to the suppressions list within Postmark. Was not what I was trying to do. I thought I was going to be able to handle this all in app, but for probably legal reasons, I'm going to have to wire this up as well. Because if I leave my custom one, and let's say a user unsubscribes from that link, I currently don't have a way of passing it to Postmark, so it gets suppressed also in Postmark, even though it still shouldn't send because it's in the DB. The DB, it scans the DB to decide who to send it to. So not that big of an issue, because honestly, it still shouldn't send. All right, yeah, think about this. I'm not going to rip it out completely. I'm just going to rip out the actual route itself and just rely on Postmark's custom unsubscribe route. Because if I rip it out completely, it'll ruin pretty much the benefits I'm getting from this DB check. Before I send an email, it's going to check the DB, see who is personally unsubscribed from the newsletter, email preferences. So I don't send out an entire list. If I don't have that set up, I'm going to still send out an entire list to Postmark, and then Postmark is going to check that list against their own suppressed list and then send out who needs to be, which, you know, works on some things. But if I can send out less data to Postmark, I can send out more recipients and be more efficient that way. So that's probably what I'm going to end up doing now that I think about it. Just what I thought. I literally thought I was about to be done with this. There's always something that pops up at the end. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna rip out the route, public route, not rely on that link anymore. You have to sign in to your account, and from your account, you can actually unsubscribe from those. As you can see, let me see, let's go to settings. So this button right here will do all that unsubscription work from the DB. Your email will no longer have that. My email will no longer have that actual link to come to my custom one. Instead, you'll be taking Postmarks, which with the webhook will tell my account to go ahead and mark this user as unsubscribed. And then that user will not even get sent with my payload to Postmark. I think that's the way I'm gonna do it. Otherwise, I get this double unsubscribe, which can be a bit confusing. And because it's Postmark, I cannot remove this from the email. All right, I think that's what I'm gonna do. And I have this weird little bug now that I need to figure out what's going on. And then I need to lastly check to make sure that I'm getting the correct response back. So right now it's being marked as failed, even though literally all 22 got sent. Yeah, see, 0 sent, 22 failed, 5 skipped. All right. All right, that's working as expected now. I'm probably about to hop off, but I got pretty close to finishing this little feature off. Last thing I'm gonna have to do basically is rip out the public route of this, wire up a new API endpoint, and create a webhook on my Postmark account for this specific application. But yeah, other than that, like I said, I'm probably about to hop off here. Done a lot. Finished off this feature. There's one last major feature that I'm gonna come back on here tomorrow, see how far I can get on it. Kind of already started it like a little while ago and try to finish that off. But yeah, other than that, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all that kind of join the chat, whatever. As you can see from the top corner, whatever that is, thing over here. I just launched my SaaS app, last week. Greenlight.co. If you're a freelancer, you might find some use from it. If not, still, join, kick the wheels, kick the tires. Let me know what you think about it. Any, changes, any improvements, any issues that you might have. I definitely want to kind of get some feedback and opinions from people. So if you want to go check that out, let me know. I'll be on here again this week. So other than that, man, appreciate y'all for joining. Peace.